During the week of Veterans Day 2021, the Atlantic Council has produced staged reading performances of War Words by Michelle Kholos Brooks by professional theater companies across the country, with a mission to cultivate an understanding of military and veterans and connect them to civilians.
War Word is actually a docu-play in the words of veterans about why they decide to serve and what their lives are like when they return. I think that it's really, really important for us to have a better understanding of why people choose to serve and what their sacrifices are.
Our mission for War Words is to close the gap between ordinary Americans and their warriors, their professional warriors, most of them, so that they read the paper differently than they might otherwise.
I just decided to set about and get to know some of these people and hear their stories and hear why they did this thing that I couldn't possibly imagine doing. And I just asked. And much to my surprise, there was an extraordinary number of people who were willing to talk to me, and incredibly generous people. And Steve was actually the first person that I ever talked to. And I sort of think of him as like my gateway drug bet. Because he was so easy to talk to, he was so generous with his time and his stories. So I went in saying, I don't know anything about it. I want you to explain to me why you do what you do so that I can be your translator for those of us who have no clue.
In Miami, we have a pretty good sized population of vets and active military, and they're very engaged with what this particular piece is, so that there can be more understanding between our civilian population and our military and veteran population as to the things they have more in common than set them apart.
It's about community. It's about the good, the bad, the ugly, the beautiful of being in the Army. And I just feel like it's timeless, so why not now? I think there's no better time than now to hear this story.
We ended our war in Afghanistan, the longest war we've had in this country's history, 20 years. For much of that time, as a nation, we've been out of sight, out of mind, you know? As a nation, we chose to send people overseas, and so there's a responsibility I feel like is not being fulfilled by the society itself, America, most American citizens. And I think that's because most people don't know how to engage in that conversation, and the purpose behind War Words is to begin that.
I think it's important for us to know other people in the community. The more we know the people who we live around, the more aware we are of the world we live in, and can be more compassionate and empathetic towards everyone, because we all make up the community, and veterans are certainly people who we should feel honored to know and have around us, and know that they are people too. And I think that's the biggest thing that I connect with in this show, is the understanding that veterans, just like you and me, they have, hopes and dreams, and they're also putting themselves at risk for the rest of us. It's really easy to say thank you for your service, but it might be a little harder to take the initiative to get to know somebody a little better, to know that they're a human being behind that service.
I am grateful for this because transparency is key for advocacy. I feel like with everything going on in these last few years. Everything's sort of coming up. You can look up anything on social media, but this is an aspect that I've yet to really see come to light. So to be able to invest in that sort of storytelling and that narrative and those characters and lives is really important, not only transformative as an artist, but as a human. So I hope the audience gets a bit of that too.
What I'd like for audiences to take away is Michelle's vision is walk with us, let go of your preconceived notions about who joins and why and what it's like to be in a war, because it's nothing like a video game and it's nothing like a movie and it's nothing like the sort of the clickbait headlines that we often sort of stop at when we're talking about military service.
Outstanding show tonight, just very powerful. I think really captures the veteran experience in a way that'll be very accessible for the public and in ways that sometimes is not. So I think really nice bridge of the civilian-military divide, and everybody should see the show.
The world that we live in today, where things are so often polarized, people being on different sides of things and refusing to agree and refusing to come together on certain topics, I think pieces like War Words, pieces like this, that can bring personal stories from people's hearts and people's souls and people's experiences that can be shared in a way to unite people together is really, really important to have, especially for Veterans Day, to bring people together and just be able to hear these stories and connect on an emotional level together as a group.
I hope that's changed a little bit in your own minds and your own hearts, that you've begun to see people that have served in the military as individuals, as real people, as people like yourselves. And I would encourage you to go out and further that process, to go out into the community and get to know people who have served in the military one-on-one as real people and not as members of some large group. That is one of the missions of the Atlantic Council.
War Words presents warriors as people we would know and relate to. And I think once ordinary Americans can get past the popular idea of what warriors are and recognize them as people who have the same sort of emotions and responses, they've often been put in some extraordinary situations, but they're just like us. And if we walk with them, to borrow a line from the play, if we walk with them, we'll appreciate that more than it is possible to do in the ordinary course of our lives.